to India Mobile Congress Day 2. We have a very interesting session which will be starting right now. I understand it got delayed due to the previous sessions got extended, but we'll try to wrap it up as quick as possible. So before we talk about this topic, 5G killer use case, I would want to take a second, take a minute and talk about the journey of Indian telecom sector over the past few decades. If you see in late 90s, early 90s, we started with, or we used to only have fixed line and landline services. Towards the later half of 90s or early 2000s, we started with the wireless technology. At that moment, the wireless revolution started in India, and over the last 2 decades, we have seen how it has matured from 2G to 3G, then from 3G to 4G. Last year at IMC itself, Honorable Prime Minister Modi, he launched 5G services. And it has been 12 months in which India has developed themselves or made themselves ready for 5G services. And India has progressed really well in the deployment of 5G as of now. If you see, if you talk about 5G, there are 3 critical factors which needs to take care of if you want to assess how a country is progressing, right? To start with, the first one is on the deployment side, how efficient we are in the deployment. So if you see India's story in 5G deployment, we started with few major cities where 5G was initially launched. But in the span of last 12 months, we have seen that 5G has been launched at major of the cities and the rural villages as well. If you talk about deployment specifically from the network perspective, over the last 1 year, we have seen around 400,000 plus towers specifically set up for 5G services. The second parameter which I want to talk about is the adoption of services. So we have seen in India, in period of 12 months, more than 100 million customers are there for 5G services. So we have, and as per some surveys, we have potential to take that number to 700 million in next 5 years. So if we see completely on adoption side, we have a lot of potential, be it from the consumer side or from the enterprise side. So future looks very, very bright for 5G services. Then if we talk about performance of 5G, right? So we have seen in last 12 months, the data download speed capacity has increased 4 times in last 12 months. So average download speed, maybe in September 2022, was around 12 to 13 Mbps, but it has grown up to 45 to 50 Mbps now. So we have clearly seen that there is an increase in performance of data services in India, and that would go up in the coming few months. Now, if I want to invite our key panelists for this session, we have experienced panelists who have joined us and for this session and they are from across different industries. So we have experts from 5G manufacturing domain. We have participation from consulting side as well. So I would like to invite Mr. Amit Marwa, who is the head of marketing and corporate affairs at Nokia. So he possesses an experience of more than 25 years in telecom domain, and he specializes in technical sales. So during the session today, we'll interact with him and we'll seek his experience, or we'll discuss his experience, how India's journey had been so far. Secondly, I want to invite Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, who is Chairman and Managing Director of Telecom Consultant India Limited. He possesses more than 30 years of experience serving telcos. So prior to TCIL, he has been part of BSNL, MTNL, where he was in charge of network deployment. So his expertise is in network domain. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Vikram, who is a senior director at Sina. Again, a very experienced veteran with 25 years plus experience in telecom domain, focusing on sales of technology and enterprise services. Before Sina, he has also vast experience of working with other leading manufacturers in telecom space as well. Next, I would like to invite Anup. She has joined us from the US. She has flown specially for this event a couple of days back. She is a Chief Operating Officer at EDX Wireless. Her expertise is in domain of network planning and RF planning. So they help a lot of service providers to deploy their networks, specifically now if we talk about 5G networks. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Jagdish Mishra. He's the Chief Strategy and Head of Growth at Tech Mahindra. He possesses experience of over 25 years, and he's responsible for generating new growth businesses and play a vital role in sales for this organization. Last but not the least, I would like to invite Mr. Jaspreet Singh. He's a partner with Grant Thornton, and he's a market leader with the firm. He manages large transformation engagements focusing on workforce transformation and digital transformation. So we clearly have a highly experienced panel here, and we would really appreciate, we will start the discussion on the 5G. I'll take my seat. So thank you everyone for joining in, and I understand it's late in the evening and you all have prior commitments, right? So I'll try to wrap it up as soon as possible. So I'll start with Amit Marwa, right? So sir, the question to you is, so we have seen transformation in telecom space, right, from last few decades, right, from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G, and now we are moving towards 5G. And in last 12 months, we have seen a lot of development happening in terms of deploying the 5G network, and we are currently in build stage of 5G deployment. So sir, what, according to your experience, do you think, what would be the key sectors where 5G will bring a lot of change and value add to the customers, and how enterprises will also gain a lot from this 5G? So if you can share, sir, your thoughts and experience on it.
Thank you, Arun. And by the way, we are showcasing the first live 6G demo in our booth in a prototype way. So I'm just saying we're talking about 5G and we're moving. So this is how the technology is moving extremely, extremely quickly. You're absolutely right, and I think you said that in the last 10 months, what India has done, no country in the world has been able to do. The fastest deployment ever of any network across the world has happened in India. People used to say when I used to come for earlier panels that are we late on 5G? And I always used to say, no, we are not late. We are at the right time. But today India has shown that after being so-called late also, we have started leading the world. So kudos to the whole ecosystem for making that happen, and including the government. Sakyaji is part of it. Having said that, yes, deployment has happened. We did a lot of things actually during the deployment. You know, the same deployment that we have done, I mean, 350,000 sites, not sites, I would say, base stations plus deployed. But how could that happen? It has never happened in the world. We did something called digital deploy. We improved our tools. We were at one point of time, I think we were doing like 30,000 sites a month, which was unprecedented in any environment, never heard of. In a country in Europe, doing 4,000 sites in a year used to be big. We reduced our deployment time by 30 to 40% by adding digital tools. So, I mean, that's the journey that we've had. Having said that, 100 million plus subscribers, 1.2 billion overall. So I think that's the gap that we need to bridge. I hope that Amazon and the Flipkarts will do a good job in Diwali sales, and the 5G ecosystem will improve. They'll give good discounts, because that is one of the big drivers for the monetization of 5G. The ecosystem building, it's not affordable phones. Yes, there are affordable phones up to 10,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees now. But converting that from conventional 4G phones to 5G is the challenge that we have for monetization of 5G. And yes, we've made progress. There's way to go, but I am optimistic that that will happen soon. So that is on the consumer side. Uh, Frankly, if you ask me what is the killer use case, I don't think any one of us have an answer. But I will tell you that from a deployment which has happened in the Americas, um, you know, the broadband connections which have been deployed in the last 1 year in America, 90% of those have been on fixed wireless access. So that is just an example. I'm not saying fixed wireless access is a killer use case, but fixed wireless access is definitely a big use case which can help to monetize the network that has been deployed today. And that is the need of the hour. That is a requirement in India. Home broadband, fiber to the home is a challenge, and fixed wireless access can bridge that challenge, both in the urban as well as connecting the rural, where you could actually, we do some CSR projects, and I can tell you from that example, wherever broadband had hit that village, it could be a small village. There are like 100 Wi-Fi connections which emerge out of it. So one broadband connection, and the whole half of the village is using that. Now, imagine you could take a fixed wireless access network on a wireless 5G into a small village which has maybe 50 homes, and all of them can share somewhat the 5G experience, or at least the bandwidth that is there. So definitely fixed wireless access is one big use case I see. The other you talked about is enterprise. Now, in enterprise, why has enterprise or private wireless on 5G not happened? I mean, that's the question everybody asks. And the simple answer to that is that 10 months of deployment, huge focus on enabling the country to become 5G enabled. And the regulatory ecosystem, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, that spectrum is with the CSP. So when the spectrum is with the CSP, the deployment of private wireless or enterprise kind of 5G use cases has to flow through the CSPs, which is a fair model, and I think it is workable. It has worked in rest of the world also. Yes, there are different models, and spectrum can be allocated to the industry, et cetera, but I'm not getting into that debate. Looking at the situation that is today also, and I say that on behalf of the operators, how much focus they have put in the last 10 months in just getting reach and coverage in the country is commendable. Now, if you expect that in these 10 months, 5,000 factories should have also been converted into 5G, that's a big ask. And why it is a big ask is, now you have a situation where everybody is questioning ke monetization kaise hoegi. And even the operators are struggling and thinking that now we have deployed, how do we make money out of it? So this is going to be the time of creating that use cases and actually focus by the CSPs towards the enterprise to make other use cases happen on 5G.
Thank you, Amit. I think so. Very interesting point you have spoken about. You have mentioned that India started this journey a bit late than the other Western countries, but the speed which we have deployed, I think so we are at par with the other countries. And also you have spoken about the investments which are going in to build the network as of now. So currently, we can presume that India is in a build phase where they're building the network and infrastructure, and the next stage would be where they'll build the use cases which can then be used to monetize the 5G use case. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and points. Moving on and taking this forward from here, next I'll go to Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, right? We'll continue from where we left here. We talked about a lot of investments, both from the government side as well as the private players, right? Government has also started a lot of initiatives of connecting gram panchayats, deploying fibers, and a lot of investment is going on, both from the government side as well as the private side, right? So how do you feel the service providers will make it or monetize this opportunity, or how will they sustain this? Because we still feel that next few months or a year would be again building the infrastructure up or consolidating the infrastructure till the last mile connectivity. So how the service provider, will they face any challenge, or how will they sustain this high capex time which is going on right now?
Thank you. Other than spectrum, the biggest capex investment of any telco goes to RAN infra and the connectivity infra to these BTS sites. The India has its own unique challenge as far as these two infra are concerned. If you talk about laying of optical fiber connectivities, where for 5G you need every site to be connected on fiber. The local bodies and the right of way owning agencies, they treat it as an opportunity to make revenues than treating it as a utilities. So this put a lot of burden on a telcos to spend more money on paying reinstatement charge for laying last mile optical fibers. On RAN sides, India has the stringent RF norms, and that needs to meet the coverage and capacity objective. Operator required to put more number of sites per square kilometers. So this again need more capex requirement. India is another unique country where our spectrum is fragmented. One operator have many type of spectrum, 800 or 900, then 1800, 2100. So that means the operator has to put up number of RR radio sites, radio equipment to air those spectrums which are allotted to it. So now how to address these challenges which are quite unique to India? There may be some which are operator dependent, some require regulatory framework or regulatory intervention and policy guidelines. From operator point of view, to reduce their RAN expenditure, if RAN infra, active RAN infra can be shared by the operators, this will be a lot of saving, capex saving for the operator. Yes, there may be some challenge, like there is one operator who is offering a 5G service on SA modes, other operator are offering on NSA modes. So there may be technical issues, but at the same time, those operators who are offering the service on NSA mode, it gives you opportunity to directly share the RAN network and offer the service on SA mode itself. Spectrum refarming is the another way where the government intervention is needed, where one operator can be given one low band spectrum for coverage and another 1 to 2 spectrum for capacities. But as a long-term perspective, spectrum refarming can be done by the government. Regarding reduction of costs on connectivities, if the government can bring legislation to treat it as a utilities, then it will have significant impact on payment of ROW charge and restatement charges. You will be surprised to note that it is cheaper to lay a gas pipeline compared to lay optical fiber cable in India because of this issue. The another areas where operator can work, for example, this democratization of RAN parts. That if small entrepreneurs are allowed to put up RAN infra and provide the connectivity also with the core of the operators, then this will help to shift capex burdens from the operator to the individual or small entrepreneurs and this offer a business opportunity. In USA, these small entrepreneurs, they are allowed to put up their BTS site in a given geography and connect with the core of the telcos and allow to offer the service and offer the services and improve the coverage of a operator in a given zone. So that way in India also you will be surprised to note that in India these IP1 license holders, though they are allowed to put up passive infra, but in passive also they are not allowed to put up even an antenna or even a waveguide, though that is itself a passive infra, but they are not allowed. So that itself is a challenge, and if the rules can be simplified in that direction, that there will be a lot of entrepreneurs who will come in market to put up the BTS sites at their own expense, maintain it with the required SLA as per the operators and reduce the capex burden for operators. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, to share the insights. So specifically, you have spoken about role of a government to ease out cost pressure to the service providers. As per me, I think so. We understand there are different stakeholders in the entire journey, right? Be it service providers, equipment manufacturers. Government also plays a equally important role in a successful deployment. And as per some points which you sir suggested, I think so. If some reforms can be transformed, right, to make it friendly for the service providers, that would really take out burden, specifically at this point where we have more capex involvement rather than the monetization part. Thank you so much, sir. Moving forward, we have talked about the infrastructure, the investment which is going on. So Vikram, to you, we have seen in like last 12 months, a lot of infrastructure focus has been there, specifically in the tier 1, tier 2 cities, right? In metros, we have a good 5G connectivity, right? So how can we take it further, or how can we penetrate 5G to the rural part of India, right? See, India is a big country with various different terrains, right? We have deserts, we have mountains. So how difficult or what would be the challenges service provider will face while taking it to or taking it too deep further to those remote geographies?
Yeah. So, Arjun, thanks for this, right? Agree with what Amit was talking about, right? I think a commendable job done by the operators the first 12 months, right? We were all here in the IMC last year when it was launched and getting to 100 million. Their focus was really on going deep, going to as many towns and getting as many subscribers, right? And definitely handset prices falling has been the most important vector for the uptake on, on the pull-through on 5G conversions. But, that being said, I think this is addressing more around the urban piece of it, right? If you move to the rural piece, I think first you'll have to move, ITU has recently adopted a standard which has been jointly developed in India by IIT and TSDSI, right? And that standard, once deployed, right, I think the operators will be able to go into the remotest of villages, right, and penetrate and, at a lower cost and get maximum subscribers. Again, FWA would be the killer use case, which would, apart from high-speed consumer broadband, right, which would be used, as Amit mentioned, the villagers are innovative, and you put one FWA connection and you see the spread, right? And that's actually going to impact the economy also, because just in the previous session we heard the impact on GDP, right? And we are a rural-based economy, right? A majority part of our economy is from there. Now, going a step further, I think we are also an agriculture-driven economy, right? So agriculture will become a very important use case when it comes to, using 5G IoT powered sensors, where the farmers will be able to actually study the soil quality, improve crop yield, right? And, basically improve the overall agricultural productivity, right? But I think the other important thing is also the underlying transport network which the operators will have to build. So yes, there is fiber penetration in rural broadband, in rural villages as a part of the Digital India project. But I think, the operators will have to continue deploying these transport networks, which would be the underlay, right, for the 5G penetration to increase in the rural networks. And, once you have to deploy more use cases, these networks will obviously have to be more programmable and automated, right? But that will obviously move from urban today. They're still doing it in urban, right? So that will move later to rural. But to summarize, I think, definitely urban, good job done, more use cases will come, but rural, go deeper, deploy the standard, go get the high-speed broadband customers, start deploying FWA, and then move into killer use cases like agriculture for rural to have an overall impact on not just the growth in subscribers, but also the economy on the whole. Thank you.
Thanks, Vikram. So India is still a rural-dominated society, right? And agriculture is one of the highest contributor to our GDP. So what I feel is, in addition to agriculture, education is one of the important use case, specifically for rural sector, right? Because in urban sector, we can see, yes, education has transformed over last few years, but the use of technology and 5G, if we can also transform education specifically for rural India, that
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, education and healthcare, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
both of these.
so that will indirectly or directly contribute to our economy as well. So thank you so much, Vikram. So moving forward, so we have a panelist who has came specifically from the US. Anup is here amongst us, right? She's a chief operating officer at EDX Wireless. So she has been associated, or she has more than 20 years of experience in telecom sector, and she helps clients to launch 5Gs globally, right? So, Anup, we have seen a success story of India 5G story in last 12 months, right? A lot of good work done. India is the fastest deployer of 5G globally as of now. But still, if we can learn from global best practices, so we should do that. So, what according to you can be the learnings for India to make 5G more penetrable and to make it more successful in future?
Yeah, sure. Oh, sorry, it's a bit loud. Yeah, sure. So, talking it from a planning perspective, what we've seen over there, that when it comes to 5G, we're looking at use cases such as, massive IoT. We're looking at low latency. So planning becomes very different, and it's a different ecosystem. We're virtualizing the core. The RAN is getting smarter. So as that gets smarter, we also need to get smarter about planning. It's not just pushing at your base station and turning it on. That's just physics. What we're doing now is looking at the ecosystem. Has AI, machine learning, it's getting more mature. Having those as part of the ecosystem helps the plan. So such as, what we're seeing there is people looking at digital twin a lot more, which we've been looking at and helping with. And what that does is emulate the network as you want it. So maybe you're going to deploy, maybe you have deployed. So having inside of this ecosystem, such as Open RAM, some of your machine learning, because you have now edge products for your 5G. It's not just the base station, you have things at the edge being smart. You have, along with that, different IoT sensors out there. So making decisions have to be done faster. You no longer wait for your latency to come back. If there's, street lights, emergency services, you need to be very fast and have a rapid response. So that's, one integral part of having this digital twin is to understand, okay, if there is an accident or there is a traffic abnormality due to emergency problems, you reroute that traffic, what's going to happen? Must be emulated to be able to say, okay, now in the real deployment, this is how and these are the patterns we must follow. So that's been actually proven to be working pretty well from, what we've seen out in the US. The other aspect is, part of the digital twin, is a big problem we see is with the legacy technologies, there is a lot on the sites that people are still unsure about. Is it really in the location it's supposed to be? Is it really, got the configurations we have? Is what we have in-house matching what's on the field? A massive problem. We've seen it worldwide, actually. So some of the things that people are doing is drones. The last panelist actually spoke about drones. Take them out and doing site asset surveying and bringing it back into the digital twin to give you the real coverage map, the real functionality of that particular site, and whether it's there or not. And so we're learning that with the digital twin, we're able to do things like configuration and audits faster with that human error. So I think, one of the things that we learn is the ecosystem is widened for 5G. Bringing them all in together helps provide a better network coverage, better coverage, and open it up for other players, not just the big, great vendors we have out there, but everyone else gets to go.
So thanks, Anup. So you talked about how best practices can be employed or deployed in India. But from India's success story of 5G, what can be the best practices which other countries can use it or can refer it to while they are into a 5G journey? So,
Yeah, so what I've seen and learned from the Indian market that 5G was deployed and there wasn't the hesitation that we've seen elsewhere. It's, gone forth and deployed and planned out. So I think we can definitely learn the efficiency that India has in deploying their 5G network.
thanks, Anu. So we have talked about a lot of investment, cost, right? Moving forward to Jagdish, right? So Jagdish, from your experience, because we have seen a lot of cost going in for the service providers. So what would be the, now if you talk about revenue, right? What is the potential you see? Because now 5G or this will not be only the data services or voice services, it will be beyond that. There would be different use cases, be it enterprise, be it consumer. What do you think is the potential or a revenue potential for this 5G?
Great question, Arjun. I think that's what we are discussing, and I don't know whether this is a holy grail where you can get a set of answers saying, these are the list of killer use cases that one should deploy and you'll make a lot of money. There's no such thing, I think, like that. And as I think Anup was hinting at, and I think all of us, whether it's Amit, Anup, all of us who have spoken about it, the revenue-making opportunity for the telco we always knew was going to be primarily for the first time in the enterprise world, right, with 5G. And that in itself, I think, has great potential, but it will vary from market to market. So, for example, the definition of killer 5G use case itself, I don't know whether people very easily, it's a very simple definition of a very important need that's in the market that's not getting fulfilled and an application fulfilling it. Once those 2 points meet, then you call something a killer use case. That killer use case has only potential which will dependent on every market. So what's a killer use case in Anup's market or Anup's world in US will not probably be the same here, because an autonomous car is very much a killer use case with the help of 5G in US. I don't think we need too many autonomous cars here in India. I mean, man-driven cars itself are
It
not
will be literally
possible
a killer use
yeah.
case. If we'll get
So
automated cars here,
yeah,
it
we
will
probably
be
need little flying cars. But the point I'm trying to make is everywhere there will be a different set of use cases that will make the demand. In India, with the rollout that partners like Nokia and other OEMs, like Ericsson and other operators that we in TechM have worked with, Jio, Vodafone, Airtel, all of them have done a brilliant job of rolling it out. Now the potential is to make sure that you are doing applications for specific areas. And this, I think, has a tremendous potential because we constantly keep talking about competing with China and that they are very good in manufacturing. We are not as productive. 5G offers us this opportunity to challenge that. And I think in India specifically, I think Vikram mentioned it, a use case, and Sanjeev ji mentioned it, use case around agriculture. We still is our largest employer, but it's lowest productivity in the world. So it's not doing anyone any good. 5G has a great potential to transform agriculture and use cases around that. 5G, so look at India's needs: agriculture, healthcare, education, and that those three has the great potential to transform from 5G use cases. From a manufacturing perspective, we know we ourselves have deployed at least, in more than 80 to 90 factories around the world with the help of the partner ecosystems like Nokia, etc., that there's an opportunity for us to transform. I know the debate on whether private networks or only the operator-led network has died down for the time being, but that's an opportunity for India to really leapfrog. All our factories have a great potential to be doing this. I only have two key comments to make as we wrap up. One, 5G is not to be treated as a technology. It's a platform which allows you to do as much innovation as you think you can. And the way I think US has done it by creating a 4 or 5 people who've come together and created the open network or the innovation network, India needs one of those, where we need to have all the operators or maybe the OEMs and some large SIs like Tech Mahindra and others to come together and allow the development across new use cases, which then can find its way around the application. So answer to your question, agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare are going to be the key areas of use case.
If I can just complement what Jagdish just said. You talked about digital twins. For all your information, we have a digital twin in our booth of our Chennai factory, which is manufacturing 5G right here. So actually, if you want to witness this, you can do it. But coming to the point about industries, I again say 5G monetization in India, this is the right time. And why I say this is, we've been having debates about enterprise using or factories using private 5G or private network for 2 years. And the biggest debate and why it is not happening is, where is the ROI? How it will happen? Will I really recover my money? Enterprise want to know, if I set it up in my manufacturing, is it really worth an investment to do, etc., etc. Now, what has happened is that in the last 2 years or 2.5 years, I mean, as Nokia, we have deployed some 800 private networks across the world. So we have enough data and we have enough use cases which have reached a maturity level where now you can actually show with proof points, and we are actually showcasing some of those, that these are the use cases, they have been actually deployed, this is the ROI that they have generated, this is the efficiency that they have created. Now, people have more confidence, or factories will have, or manufacturing will have more confidence that yes, it's going to work. It's also a snowballing effect. You know, it is just the first 10 people starting it, and people realize that, oh, this is absolutely the right thing to do, and it will from 10 to 100 to 100 to 1,000, it will happen very fast.
No, you're absolutely right, Amit. For example, we did one of the plants of Mahindra in Chakan in Pune, and that's a complete robotic-enabled plant. We did it together with Nokia, and I think the only way, the question I think everyone is probably going to ask is, then why is it not taking off? What is stopping it? I think it lies right here on this side of the stage. Some of us will have to take those examples of what Amit was talking about, showcase the ROI. No one else will invest in building the. If you build in the business, if you believe in the business, take 2 factories, convert them into it and show them the ROI, and then I think it will pick up.
I think spreading the awareness to the end user is also very, very important, right? And so you talked about, like, see, manufacturing is one thing which can be an early adopter of 5G services. Specifically, if we talk about smart factories, right? So it will not only increase the efficiency of production, but if we talk about safety, right? Safety of the employees. If we automate the process, it will increase the safety standards in manufacturing as well.
No, so oil and gas, for example, we're doing a lot of work with mining and oil and gas companies. You know about the state of mining in India still,
Yes.
and the security part that you mentioned. So look at 5G not just as in standalone connectivity technology, but if you're doing AR, VR, metaverse, all of them in the ability to be able to offer security, to your point, can't happen without 5G. Right? So that 5G, that's why I said 5G is a platform on which you can build these applications.
Yeah, absolutely right, sir. So moving forward, so we have talked about again use cases, deployment of network. The other important aspect which I want to discuss here is on the workforce, right? So currently telecom sector, it employs around 4 million direct or indirect employment to the telecom sector. Now considering we are currently building the 5G network, use cases are still underway, right? We are still waiting for some of the use cases to get matured. A lot of focus would be required in future in terms of manpower, right? Be it some skilled labor, network engineers. So just be a question to you, right? How do you see Indian education system transforming, and in future, maybe 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, if once the 5G will be on its roll, there will be a lot of demand of skilled labor. So how, in what position India is currently to meet that demand, and what changes as per you, or what would be the focus areas, be it technical trainings, other industrial experience to the students? How do you think India needs to change for this early adoption?
I think a very brilliant question, Arjun. And, Vikram spoke about the tractor story. Amit spoke about some use cases, and Jagdish mentioned the automation of the factory, right? What is all of this doing? All of this is uplifting the last mile, the last person who's there, right? If you don't provide education to be the basic use case, then any other use case that we've talked about on this platform is a failure. But there are two aspects to education, right? One is educating people on the use cases, right? The platform is there. I'm building applications. I'm building connectivity. I'm building use cases around agriculture, right? A farmer, if there is a use case around a farmer being educated on what's the best time to invest in this soil or to invest in this crop, I will do that. But how will that happen is when education reaches that last level. Unfortunately, today, steps are being taken. I'm not saying steps are not being taken. If you saw what happened or what was passed as the budget this year, there were about 100 5G labs that were commissioned. There are technical training institutes that are being formed. But is it adequate with the speed at which we are adopting technology? Given that all of my panelists spoke about India being the fastest adopter, are we the fastest educator? Answer is probably for everybody to say. That's one. Second is, I think Jagdish alluded to it, some pieces around the training and awareness piece was when the education increases, right, there is and the adoption increases, there's also a risk of security that's going to come in, right? From that perspective, are we educating people enough on the do's and don'ts to do while they adopt 5G connections? For example, all of us travel in trains, metros. Every metro station in Delhi has a free Wi-Fi. How many of us connect to that Wi-Fi without even knowing what are the implications, right? So how are we taking that security piece to it? The third piece that I would probably like to bring to the table is the free education content that is flowing around, the YouTubes of this world, right? When there is 5G connectivity, a farmer sitting at his home probably can do a basic 40-minute education capsule. How are we enabling that? I think that if you add all these three together, and if you see, I think the future of workplace in 2030 will be technology ready. Back to you.
Thanks, Jasprit, for the insights. And educating our customers and educating the workforce is a really critical success factor for 5G to be a very successful in India. So I think so we have spoken about all the aspects, majorly deployment, use cases, education. I think so if we talk about a killer use case, I think so there won't be a single killer use case, right? There would be multiple use cases, but it would be sector specific. There might be some killer use cases in education field, some might be in agriculture sector. So what I feel is maybe the killer use case is not even identified right now, right? So if you go back 3 to 4 years back, no one would have imagined service provider like Zomato, Swiggy to be there, right? But that need was created, and in 2-3 years, that is a must, or it is, I think so, 80-90% of urban population might be using those services. So as per me, maybe the killer use case is not even identified as of now, right? So it's a point to think over, like maybe the killer use case would change over the period of time as well. Currently, we can say manufacturing, smart factories, fixed broadband is a killer use case, but maybe 2 years down the line, we would have something very, very different.
So just 30 seconds on that. GPS as a technology came in 1961, right? When did we start using GPS commercially? 1999 in India when Map My India came in, and then Google Maps came in. So maybe like Arjun rightly said, we are still waiting for the killer use case on 5G to make it a commercial.
इतना मत wait कराओ.
Yeah.
So I hope we don't have to wait that much. Yeah. And the killer use cases, like there is no one killer use case. All these will complement and make 5G happen. let's be optimistic. 5G will get monetized. 5G will grow. There will be things that we will do in the future which will, and by the way, I don't know, Jagdish mentioned or who mentioned the factory. So like I said, our Chennai factory is already Industry 4.0 enabled, and it's not even 5G, it's 4G. And since we've enabled it, there's been an 85% lead time reduction. There's 30,000 kilometers of man walking because we have robots now doing all the logistics. There's some 20% efficiency gain. So we have now proof points to say that it works and it needs to, be taken to the next step. We talked about agriculture. 50,000 acres for 50,000 farmers has been implemented with our solution along with Vodafone in Maharashtra. Actually, so there are bits and pieces of things which have actually already happened and I think will only grow.
I think if you talk about the killer use case, जो है, this, as Amit told, जो है, this high-speed home broadband connectivity, जो है, of course, where the internet TV or TV is the primary service over that, and top up with a internet over it. So you have 30 crore household in India, जो है, and there are many areas in countries where if the high rainfall is there, the DTH doesn't work. So this 5G give a good example that if we have a device ecosystem at affordable rate, set-top box with 5G SIMs on that at affordable rate, it will be a killer use case. Second, the government of India has mandated that all energy meter has to be converted to smart meter in next 2 to 3 years. So again, there is opportunities for IoT feature of this to have again killer use case, which is a captive business for the telcos. And of course, along with the high-speed broadband, you have e-education and e-health. Over that, which ensures that telco will get enough revenue per site to make it a viable business case.
Thank you. So Vikram, any closing remarks from your side?
No, I just wanted to add to the question what Jagdish left, right? Why is it not happening? So I think there are two, dimensions if you really look at it, right? One is obviously the need. Now the need is getting realized. So the end customer realizes that, yes, I need it. The enterprise realizes that I need, right? The second is, I think, what are we expecting? Who will take it to the market? Are we expecting that just the telco who's launched 5G will take it to the market? I believe it will be an ecosystem, right? It will be an ecosystem of the telco. It would be, an OEM like us, right? It would be a SI partner. It would be an app developer. And, even the hyperscaler will play a role here, right? So it will vary. And you will have to develop this ecosystem with a proper understanding, a go-to-market strategy, with the right cost model and the right revenue model, right? Who's skin in the game? So that's something I wanted to add.
Want to add something?
No. Just on that, like for example, when satellite communication was launched, right? There was an education company, I'm forgetting the name, I think something, which tied up with HCL Comnet and provided, rural schools, opened a lot of rural schools. So it was that company that brought in the entire infrastructure together. So maybe there's a app company that brings all of this together and offers it as a service.
Yes, sir.
I think the final words from my side would be that, as we all know, it's difficult to predict which one. It's like saying, I want to bet on that stock, it will make it big. No one can do that. So the best way to do is to create an environment, and that's why I think India creating its own 5G platform-related innovation framework, where people are allowed, colleges, academics, everyone is experimenting. You'll have hundreds and thousands of it. It's like a Play Store. It's like an Apple, Google Play Store, which then the consumer or the enterprise in this case will decide which one's going to kill.
Right. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for your time. I think so it was a great discussion. We got some great insights in terms of how 5G can be more matured in India market, what can be the use cases, how it can be monetized. And it will not be an individual responsibility here for the service provider. It's an ecosystem which needs to be created, and a lot of participation need to be done from all the contributors of this ecosystem. So with that, I think so we can conclude this session. And thank you so much, and thank you everyone for taking out time. Thank you so much.